The first warning sign should have been the silence. Not the kind that happens naturally when two people run out of things to say, but the kind that lingers with intention. The kind that feels carefully placed. Maya first noticed it during one of their late-night calls. She was sitting cross-legged on the narrow mattress in her rented apartment in Blackridge, a crowded university district tucked just outside Port Sterling, staring at the ceiling while pages of pharmacology notes lay scattered around her like debris from a storm. Outside her window, rain tapped softly against the glass. On the other end of the line, Ethan was breathing. Not speaking, just breathing. "Maya? Yeah? You still there?" She laughed quietly. "Obviously." Another pause. Then his voice came through, low and smooth. "Just making sure." At the time, she thought nothing of it. Now, almost a year later, that moment still made her skin crawl. Because that was the first time she realized Ethan liked silence. Liked knowing she was there, listening, waiting. And that should have told her everything. It was October of 2025. Maya was 24, exhausted, and drowning in exam prep for her medical licensing boards. She shared a tiny third-floor apartment with 3 other women near Westbridge Medical University, where the hallways constantly smelled like stale coffee and printer toner. Every day was the same. Wake up, study, attend review sessions, panic, study more, try not to cry, repeat. The pressure was relentless. Everyone around her looked like they were barely holding it together. Even their study breaks felt tense, filled with anxious laughter and passive-aggressive competition over practice scores. By mid-October, Maya was desperate for anything that felt normal, anything that wasn't flashcards or diagnostic pathways. So when her roommate Tessa convinced her to download a dating app just to distract herself for a bit, Maya gave in. She downloaded Pulse, set up a profile, added 4 photos, and forgot about it for 2 days. Then Ethan matched with her. His profile was almost suspiciously perfect. 25, software engineer, lived in Blackridge, liked indie films, trail running, and old bookstores. His pictures showed a lean guy with dark hair and warm brown eyes. He looked approachable, clean-cut without seeming overly polished. The kind of guy who looked like he'd hold doors open and remember your coffee order. His first message was simple. "Your dog in picture 3 looks judgmental. Should I be worried?" Maya laughed and replied. That was how it started. Their conversations escalated quickly. Within 3 days, they'd moved from app messages to texting. By the end of the week, they were talking on the phone every night. At first, it felt harmless, comforting even. Ethan was funny, attentive. He asked thoughtful questions. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing. When she complained about neuroanatomy practice questions, he'd send memes about brain surgeons at 2 a.m. When she admitted she'd skipped dinner while studying, he'd scold her gently and remind her to eat. It felt nice, predictable, steady, in a life that currently felt like chaos. Her roommates noticed the shift almost immediately. "You're smiling at your phone," Tessa said while microwaving ramen. "I'm not." "You absolutely are." Nina looked up from her laptop. "Who is he?" "No one." "Liar." Maya laughed. "Fine, his name's Ethan." Tessa wiggled her eyebrows. "Oh, she used the name. That means it's serious." "It's not serious." But even as she said it, she felt warmth creeping into her face, because some small part of her hoped maybe it could become serious. The first strange thing happened when she suggested a video call. It was casual, almost an afterthought. They'd been talking for nearly 2 weeks. She was brushing her teeth while balancing her phone against the bathroom mirror. "Want a FaceTime?" There was a pause. Then Ethan chuckled. "I would, but my front camera's dead." "Seriously?" "Yeah, dropped my phone." "That sucks." "Yeah, getting it fixed soon." It sounded believable enough. She let it go. The second time, he blamed poor internet. The third time, his laptop camera supposedly malfunctioned. The fourth time, he said he was staying at his brother's place and didn't have privacy. Each excuse came smoothly, naturally, without hesitation. And every time, Maya accepted it, because everything else about him felt so normal. Then came the pressure, subtle at first. Comments slipped into otherwise ordinary conversations. "What are you wearing? Send me a selfie. Bet you look cute right now." None of it felt especially alarming, until one night his tone shifted. She was lying in bed after a 14-hour study session when he asked for a picture. "Not tonight." "Why not?" "I look awful." "I doubt that." "Maya?" "Send one." There was something about the way he said it. Not playful, not teasing, expectant. She frowned. "No." Silence. Then a soft sigh. "Okay." But his mood changed immediately. His usual warmth disappeared. The conversation turned clipped and distant. He ended the call 10 minutes later. The next morning, he acted normal again, as if nothing had happened. That pattern repeated, again and again. Each refusal was followed by withdrawal, coldness, distance, then eventual sweetness. The emotional whiplash unsettled her. Still, she rationalized it. Maybe he was insecure. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe stress was making her paranoid. Her roommates disagreed. "This guy's sketchy," Nina said flatly after overhearing one of their conversations. "He's not sketchy. He refuses video calls. His camera's broken." "Maya, that is the oldest excuse on earth. He's shown me pictures." "Pictures mean nothing." Maya crossed her arms. "You don't know him." Nina's expression softened. "Exactly. Neither do you." The comment stung because it was true. And deep down, she already knew it. Still, she kept talking to him. Because loneliness has a way of making red flags look beige. And Ethan knew exactly how to keep her hooked. When she pulled away, he became sweeter, more vulnerable. He told her about his difficult childhood, about his emotionally distant parents, about feeling misunderstood. He spoke carefully, revealing just enough pain to make her feel protective. And every time she considered ending things, he'd say something that reeled her back in. "I've never felt this comfortable with anyone. You actually get me. I can be myself with you." By late November, Maya was emotionally invested enough to ignore what should have been obvious. She wanted him to be real, so she kept choosing belief. Then December arrived. Final review season, holiday decorations lining campus streets, a brutal mix of stress and exhaustion hanging over everything. And one cold Thursday night, after hours of practice exams, Maya finally said it. "Come spend Christmas with my family." The words surprised even her. There was a stunned pause. Then Ethan laughed softly. "Really?" "Yeah. My parents' place is only 40 minutes outside Blackridge. It'd be nice to finally meet." Another pause. Then, "I'd love that." Her chest fluttered. For the first time, there was no excuse, no hesitation, no deflection. He said yes. And for the next week, Maya felt lighter than she had in months. She imagined introducing him to her parents, watching movies by the fireplace, finally putting a real face to the voice she'd grown attached to. Even her roommates cautiously admitted this seemed promising. "Maybe he was just nervous," Tessa said. Maya smiled. "Maybe." For the first time, she let herself believe all the weirdness had a reasonable explanation. That maybe she judged too harshly. That maybe Ethan was exactly who he said he was. Then December 24th, Christmas Eve, he called, and everything fell apart. It was just after 8 p.m. Maya was helping her mother wrap gifts in the living room when her phone buzzed. "Ethan." She smiled and answered. But the second she heard his breathing, her stomach dropped. He was crying. Not quietly, not subtly, openly, violently. "Maya."
he choked out. "What happened?" There was a long, trembling silence. Then he whispered 4 words that made her blood run cold. "I need to tell you something." And before she could respond, he said, "My name isn't Ethan."
For a moment, Maya thought she had misheard him. The living room around her blurred into muffled noise. Wrapping paper crackled somewhere nearby. Her mother was humming softly to Christmas music in the kitchen. The smell of cinnamon candles filled the house. And yet all Maya could hear was Ethan breathing through the phone. Heavy, uneven, almost trembling. "What?" she whispered. There was another pause. Then his voice cracked. "My name isn't Ethan." Her entire body went cold. She stood so abruptly that the roll of wrapping paper in her lap hit the floor. "Maya?" her mother called from the kitchen. "I'm fine," she answered automatically, though her voice sounded distant even to herself. She hurried upstairs to her childhood bedroom and locked the door behind her. The moment the latch clicked, she pressed the phone tighter against her ear. "What are you talking about?" His breathing hitched. "The pictures I sent you, they're not me." The words landed like a punch to the chest. Maya sat slowly on the edge of her bed, every muscle rigid. "What?" "I'm sorry." "No." Her voice sharpened. "No, what do you mean they're not you?" He began crying harder. The sound made her skin crawl. "I used someone else's photos." For several seconds, Maya couldn't speak. Her mind scrambled through every conversation they'd had over the past 3 months, every excuse, every delayed meetup, every failed video call. All of it suddenly clicked into place. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, quietly, "My real name is Daniel." Her stomach twisted. "How old are you?" 29. She stared blankly at the wall. He'd told her he was 25. Why? The word came out hollow. He sniffed. "Because if I used my real pictures, you never would have talked to me." Maya felt nausea rising fast. "What?" "I just wanted a chance." Her hands began to shake. "Send me a real photo, right now." There was hesitation. Then a message notification appeared. An image loaded. The man staring back at her was not Ethan, not even remotely close. He looked nearly 40, heavy-set, thinning hair, pale, tired features, a patchy beard. His expression blank and unsettlingly direct, as though staring through the screen. Maya's stomach dropped so violently she thought she might be sick. Everything about him felt wrong. And suddenly every inappropriate comment, every push for photos, every strange silence on late-night calls felt contaminated, predatory, calculated. She swallowed hard. "This is you?" "Yes." The room seemed to tilt. "You lied about everything." "I know." "Your family?" "Mostly fake." "Your apartment in Blackridge?" Silence. "You don't even live here, do you?" Another pause. "No." Something inside her snapped. "You manipulated me for 3 months." "Maya, don't." Her voice cracked. "Don't say my name." He started crying harder. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But the apology felt grotesque, too late, too rehearsed. She stood, pacing across the room. "How far away are you?" "About 3 hours." The answer stopped her cold. "Why does that matter?" he asked quickly. Because if he'd said 40 minutes like he'd always claimed, she thought, he could already be on his way here. "I'm done," she said. "No, please. We're done." "You only liked me because of the pictures." Maya froze. His tone had changed. The softness was gone, replaced with something bitter, sharp. "You're just like everyone else." Her disbelief flared into anger. "You catfished me. I gave you my real personality. You lied to me. I thought you liked talking to me before you knew what I looked like. That doesn't matter. It matters to me." His voice rose. The sudden hostility made her skin prickle. Then his tone shifted again, desperate now, pleading. "Please, don't do this." She said nothing. And then came the sentence that made her physically recoil. "Can I still come for Christmas?" Maya stared at the phone in stunned silence. "What? You already invited me. Are you insane? I told my parents I wasn't spending Christmas with them. That's not my problem. I have nowhere else to go." The entitlement in his voice was staggering. Maya ended the call, blocked his number, then sat frozen on the bed for nearly 10 minutes trying to process what had just happened. When she finally went downstairs, her mother immediately noticed something was wrong. But Maya couldn't bring herself to explain. Not yet. She just muttered something about a stressful call and helped finish wrapping presents with trembling hands. The next few weeks were awful. Despite blocking him, Daniel found ways to contact her. New numbers, new email addresses, fake social media accounts. The messages cycled through emotional extremes. Apologies, begging, accusations, threats disguised as heartbreak. "You ruined everything. I trusted you. Please talk to me. I know you still care." She blocked every account, changed privacy settings, deleted old posts. Eventually, the messages stopped, and slowly, life returned to normal. She buried herself in exam prep, passed her boards, moved forward. By spring, Daniel had become something she rarely thought about, an embarrassing mistake, a cautionary memory, nothing more. Or so she thought. Nearly 10 months later, Maya posted a cosplay photo to her Instagram story. It was harmless, a convention outfit she'd spent weeks designing. Within minutes, she received a message request. Unknown account, no profile photo, no posts. Her stomach tightened as she opened it. "You still look beautiful." Attached beneath the message was a photograph. Her breath stopped. It was the front of her parents' house, taken from the street, recent. The porch light was on. Her father's truck sat in the driveway. Maya felt all the warmth drain from her body. Her fingers moved before her mind fully caught up. She locked all the doors, ran upstairs, shut herself in her room, and called police. As the dispatcher spoke calmly through the phone, another message appeared. "Please come outside." Then came the knocking. 3 hard impacts against the front door. Her breath hitched. Then more, louder, more frantic. And finally, his voice. "Maya!" She crouched beside her bed, clutching the phone so tightly her hand cramped. "Please," he shouted. "We need to talk." The desperation in his voice was different now, unstable, unhinged. The dispatcher kept her talking, kept her grounded. Units were already on their way. Outside, the pounding continued. Then it stopped. A few seconds later came shouting, a sharp command. "Police." Then silence. The officers arrested him in the driveway. When they brought Maya downstairs to identify him, she nearly collapsed. The man standing in handcuffs was exactly the one in the photo he'd sent months earlier. But seeing him in person was infinitely worse. He looked older, more hollow, his eyes fixed at her with unsettling intensity. One officer guided her back inside immediately. Later, another officer informed her they had found a folding knife in Daniel's jacket pocket. No one could say exactly what he intended, and Maya didn't want to know. That night, she finally told her parents everything. Every call, every lie, every red flag she had ignored. Her father's face darkened with anger. Her mother cried, and Maya cried too. Not because she still cared about Daniel, but because she finally understood how close she came to letting someone dangerous into her life, into their home. At Christmas, around the people she loved most of all. Daniel was charged with stalking, harassment, and unlawful possession of a weapon. He accepted a plea deal, served less time than Maya believed he deserved. A restraining order followed. Legally, that was the end of it.
But fear doesn't obey legal paperwork. Even now, months later, Maya still checks that her doors are locked twice before bed, still hesitates before accepting follow requests, still feels a flash of dread whenever an unknown number appears on her phone. Sometimes she replays that first conversation in her mind. The silence, the breathing, the way he'd act if she was still there. And she realizes now what he'd really been asking. Not whether she was on the line, but whether she was still under his control. She wasn't. And that's why he came looking for her. Because people like Daniel don't fear rejection. They fear losing power. And sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is quiet and her phone buzzes unexpectedly, Maya still feels that old chill crawl down her spine. For one split second, she always wonders the same thing. What if he's found another number?
The profile looked real. That was what made everything worse. If there had been obvious red flags, if the photos had looked overly edited, or if the messages had felt robotic and unnatural, Noah would have laughed, unmatched, and moved on. Instead, everything about her account felt authentic, which was exactly why he trusted it, and why, months later, he still refused to sleep with his bedroom blinds open. It was late August in Briar Falls, a mid-sized city where summer always seemed to linger too long. The heat clung to everything. Concrete radiated warmth even after sunset, and every night carried the smell of asphalt and rain that never quite arrived. Noah had been single for 6 months. His breakup with his college girlfriend had been clean but draining, the kind of breakup where no one cheats and no one screams, yet both people walk away feeling like they'd failed some invisible test. At 28, he was adjusting to being alone again. His friends kept insisting he needed to get back out there. "Just meet someone," his best friend Marcus said over drinks one Thursday night. "You're acting like dating is some impossible science." "It kind of is now," Noah replied. Marcus laughed. "Then use an app like every other functioning adult." Noah hated the idea. He'd always preferred meeting people naturally, at bars, through mutual friends, at random coffee shop encounters that felt like scenes from forgettable romantic comedies. But eventually, after enough badgering, he downloaded Horizon, the city's most popular dating app. The first few days were underwhelming. A few awkward conversations, several obvious bots, one woman who opened with, "What's your annual income?" He nearly deleted the app. Then he matched with Lena. Her profile immediately stood out, not because it was flashy, but because it felt normal. Her first photo showed her standing outside a bookstore, smiling naturally at whoever had taken the picture. The second was a candid shot at a rooftop party. The third was a gym mirror selfie. The fourth was a grainy picture of her holding a ridiculously oversized carnival prize. She looked athletic, dark-haired, sharp-featured, pretty in an understated way, the kind of person who didn't seem like she was trying too hard. Her bio was short. Architect, coffee addict, sarcastic, will absolutely judge your music taste. Noah smiled and sent the first message. "How harsh are we talking? Because my playlists have emotional range." She replied, almost instantly. "That depends. Do they include sad indie songs men pretend not to cry to?" He laughed. And just like that, they were talking. The conversation flowed effortlessly. Lena was witty without trying too hard. She teased him about his obsession with old vinyl records. He joked about her architectural obsession with aggressively minimalist buildings. They discovered they both loved late-night diners, bad horror movies, and long, aimless drives through the city when they couldn't sleep. For 2 days, their messages barely stopped. On the third day, she suggested moving to Instagram. "I barely check Horizon. DM me instead?" Noah hesitated for half a second before sending his handle. Her follow request appeared immediately. The account looked polished but believable. 2 posts, several story highlights, nearly 3,000 followers, a couple hundred following. He noticed most comments under her posts were from men, mostly generic compliments, nothing unusual for an attractive woman online. At least that's what he told himself. Her latest story showed her at the gym, mirror selfie, black workout set, captioned, "Leg day equals suffering." She messaged him seconds later. "So, are you actually funny in person or just through text?" He smirked. "Dangerously funny. Why?" "Meet me tonight and prove it." The spontaneity caught him off guard, but it also thrilled him. It had been months since anything had felt exciting. They agreed to meet at the Lantern Room, a sleek cocktail bar downtown Noah knew well, 9 p.m. He arrived early, partly because he hated being late, mostly because nerves had him pacing his apartment for nearly an hour before leaving. The Lantern Room glowed warmly against the humid Briar Falls night. Inside, jazz hummed softly through hidden speakers. Amber lighting reflected off polished wood and glass. It was busy enough to feel lively without being crowded. Noah grabbed a stool at the bar. The bartender, Elise, recognized him immediately. "Well, look who finally decided to socialize. Trying something new." "Oh?" He shrugged. "Meeting someone." She raised an eyebrow. "Dating app? Is it that obvious?" He laughed and slid an espresso martini in front of him. On the house, for courage. At 8:59, Noah messaged Lena. "Here, no rush." Seen immediately. No reply. He sipped his drink and scrolled through her profile again. Something nagged at him, a subtle unease he couldn't quite place. He checked her tagged photos. Nothing. He looked through comments. All men. No close friends, no family, no casual interactions, just endless variations of fire, beautiful, wow. His stomach tightened. Maybe it meant nothing. Still, it felt oddly sterile, manufactured. At 9:07, she finally replied, "Car trouble. I'm around back by the alley entrance. Can you help?" His stomach dropped. The alley behind the Lantern Room was narrow and poorly lit, tucked between the building and a fenced service lot. Nobody parked there unless they had to. He stared at the screen. A second message arrived. "Please hurry." Every instinct told him something was wrong. He typed back, "Call me." No response. He hit the call button through Instagram. One ring, voicemail. Immediately another message. "Phone battery almost dead. Just come outside." Noah felt cold all over. Slowly, he opened Horizon. Lena's profile was gone. Deleted. His pulse spiked. Catfish, definitely. He stood up abruptly. Elise noticed. "Everything okay?" "Actually, I think I'm heading out." The man beside him turned. "Leaving already?" "Yeah." The stranger smiled. "Aw, stick around. Night's just getting started." Noah forced a tight smile and reached for his wallet. As he turned to leave, a hand clamped tightly around his wrist. Hard. Too hard. He spun around. The man's expression had changed completely. Gone was the casual friendliness. His face now held something desperate, something unsettlingly intense. And then, leaning close enough for Noah to smell stale smoke on his breath, the man whispered, "I'm Lena." Noah's blood turned to ice. For half a second, Noah couldn't process what he'd heard. The noise of the bar seemed to collapse inward, the clinking glasses, muted jazz, the low hum of conversation. All of it faded beneath the pounding rush of blood in his ears. The man's fingers remained locked around his wrist. His grip was unnaturally tight. Noah stared at him. "What?" The stranger's expression twisted into something almost embarrassed, almost apologetic. But there was something deeply wrong behind his eyes, something frantic. "I'm Lena," he whispered again. His thumb pressed against Noah's wrist, as if trying to reassure him. "I'm sorry. Please don't leave." A wave of nausea surged through Noah. He yanked his arm free so violently, the bar stool beside him tipped backward with a loud crash. Several nearby patrons turned. The stranger flinched. Noah stumbled back. "What the hell is wrong with you?" His voice came out louder than he intended, sharp enough to cut through the room. The bartender, Elise, was already moving around the counter. The stranger raised both hands slightly. "Please, just let me explain." "No." Noah's skin crawled. The stranger took a cautious step forward. "I didn't think you'd answer if you knew." "You're insane!" "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." Elise stepped between them. "Everything good here?" "No," Noah said immediately. Her expression hardened. She turned to the man. "Time to leave." The stranger looked panicked. "No, wait!" "Now." For a moment, it seemed like he might argue. Instead, his face crumpled into something bitter and humiliated. He looked at Noah one last time, and the hatred behind his eyes sent a cold spike down Noah's spine. Then he turned and walked quickly toward the exit. The entire bar remained uncomfortably silent until the door shut behind him. Elise looked back at Noah. "You okay?" "Yeah." But he wasn't, not even close. He left minutes later. Elise offered to call security or even the police, but Noah declined. He just wanted to get home, to shower, to erase the entire experience from his mind. The drive back to his apartment was dead silent. No music, no podcasts, just his hands clenched around the steering wheel and the growing sense that he had narrowly avoided something he couldn't fully understand. His apartment sat on the ground floor of an older brick complex in West Briar. At the time, he'd liked the easy access. That night, it suddenly felt like a terrible decision. He locked the door behind him, checked it twice, then collapsed onto his couch and stared blankly at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. Instagram notification. His stomach dropped. The Lena account was gone, completely deleted, as if it never existed. Noah blocked the memory of the stranger's face as best he could and turned on the television. Mindless noise, something to drown out his thoughts. Eventually, exhaustion won. Around midnight, he shut everything off and headed for bed. The room fell into darkness, quiet, still. And then came the bang. It slammed against his bedroom window so hard the glass rattled in its frame. Noah bolted upright. His heart launched into his throat. Another bang, harder. The blinds trembled. He froze. Every instinct screamed at him not to move. Then he heard it, a voice, low, male, outside the window. Noah. His blood ran cold. The stranger said his name again, slowly, almost gently. Noah. He couldn't breathe. The stranger had followed him. How? Had he tailed his car from the bar? Had he already known where he lived? The questions spiraled uselessly through Noah's mind. Again came the voice. Noah. Closer this time. He remained perfectly still, didn't move, didn't even risk looking through the blinds. Minutes passed. Then silence, complete and suffocating. He stayed awake until dawn with a kitchen knife clutched in shaking hands. Morning light finally crept through the blinds. After nearly an hour of forcing himself to gather courage, Noah approached the window. Slowly, carefully, he lifted one slat and immediately staggered backward. A folded piece of paper had been wedged beneath the outer screen. His name was written across it. He forced himself to open the window just enough to retrieve it. Inside was a single sentence. "I'll always be watching." Noah didn't go to work. He called police, filed a report, showed them the note, explained everything. The officer who took the statement looked sympathetic but doubtful. Without security footage, a plate number, or a clear identity, there wasn't much they could do. Noah felt sick. He spent the rest of the day checking every lock and closing every blind. For weeks, nothing happened. No messages, no sightings, no signs of the stranger. Gradually, Noah convinced himself it was over. A deranged catfish. A deeply disturbed man who'd lashed out after rejection. Creepy, yes, but gone. Then 3 weeks later, he found the photograph. It was tucked underneath his windshield wiper, printed on glossy paper. Taken from outside his apartment complex. The image showed Noah standing in his kitchen 2 nights earlier, visible through the narrow gap in his curtains. On the back were 3 words: "You looked lonely." That was the moment fear became something else. Not anxiety, not discomfort. Terror. Real, suffocating terror. He packed a bag that night and stayed with Marcus. The next morning, he contacted his landlord and paid an absurd penalty to break his lease early. Within 4 days, he was gone. New apartment, new neighborhood, 3rd floor, no accessible windows. He changed everything: his number, his social accounts, his routines, and eventually life settled again. Not back to normal, but manageable. Nearly a year passed. Then, on an unusually warm spring evening, Noah returned to the lantern room for the first time since that night. Marcus had insisted, "You can't let one psycho ruin your favorite bar." So here he was, trying. The place looked exactly the same. Same amber lighting, same soft jazz, same polished wood. Elise spotted him instantly. "Well, look who survived." He managed to laugh. "Barely." She handed him his usual drink. Then her expression shifted. "You should know something." His stomach tightened. "What?" She leaned closer. "That guy." Noah's chest constricted. "What about him?" "He came back." The words landed like ice water. "When?" "A couple months after everything happened." Noah felt suddenly lightheaded. What did he want? Elise's face darkened. He sat exactly where he'd sat that night. She glanced toward the stool beside him. "And he asked if you still came here." Noah said nothing. He waited almost 3 hours. A cold chill spread through his body. "What happened?" "I told him to leave." "Did he?" "Eventually." She hesitated. But before he left, her voice lowered. "He told me to tell you something if you ever came back." Noah's pulse thundered. "What?" Elise looked him directly in the eye. He said, she swallowed, "Tell Noah Lena misses him." Noah left immediately. He never returned. He moved again 6 months later. Different city, different state, different life. And yet, some nights, when his phone screen lights unexpectedly in the dark, his chest still tightens. He always checks the sender before opening anything. Unknown numbers go unanswered. Strange follow requests are deleted instantly. He keeps every curtain in his apartment sealed shut after sunset, because sometimes, while passing darkened windows, he catches himself glancing at his reflection, and for the briefest, most irrational second, he expects to see another face standing just behind him, smiling, watching, waiting, still hiding behind the name Lena.